Greetings to everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Today is a new day, good day, and we have a new featuree on the City podcast. And without further ado, I would like them to introduce themselves and tell you guys who they are.
What's up, y'all? My name is Onah Power. I am very fortunate to be on this podcast today. I've known Tex for a very long time, so it's long overdue.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us, Ona. So, as we always say, engage, pursue your dream, and seize the day. And today we'll be learning about Ona and his endeavors and see why he's unique himself. So, Mr. Owner, so the first question we have for you, since you introduced yourself, can you expand more on yourself? Tell more about yourself and the things you like to do, kind of person you are, and just so the world can kind of get a glimpse of who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, well, for me personally, I think one of the key identifying factors in who I am is, I guess, how caring I am about people. And I've been able to express that and to kind of learn about life through playing soccer. And that's a big core identity of mine throughout the years. So it's been very key and instrumental in my growth um, to becoming the man I am today. So I honestly think that highlights a lot of who I am in a very short sentence or a few phrases I might add.
Okay, well, that's awesome, man. I've known you for a while, and I know that soccer is a big part of your life. And I remember we used to play soccer when I was a freshman at Davis, actually, at the club soccer field. So that was really cool. And I didn't know you was that good. You had a really good ball control, man. I had to pick up some things from you. Um, the grit that you got. It was just inspiring. To like, man, I want to be like that guy. So that was fun. Um, so in terms of your journey so far, what is one of your biggest accomplishments you've had in life so far, and if you can explain why it's your biggest accomplishment?
Yeah, that's. I thought about that question. That's tough because I feel like there's a few avenues that I could come at it from, but at the same time, I feel like the type of person I am. I tend to overlook my accomplishments because I'm kind of always striving for more. I don't think that's necessarily a good habit, but
Yeah.
it's always good to keep pushing yourself. But at the same time, it's good to also enjoy some of the accomplishments that you have. And I think firstly for me, I started playing soccer in high school. So for me to even get anywhere remotely as far as I've gotten, for me to even play varsity in high school, starting to play soccer at that point is, I think, a huge accomplishment. Um, and then next, I'd say college, just going to college in general. Not a lot of people from high school that I know end up going to college and making it even that far. But like I said, I tend to overlook some of these accomplishments, but they're all something to definitely celebrate. So I think going to college was definitely an accomplishment. Another key accomplishment would be obviously getting, not obviously because some of you might not know, but getting to play collegiate soccer. I was not always on the team. I was a walk on. So I did. It was a journey getting to be on the soccer team and to play the role that I eventually got to play. That was definitely a very, very big accomplishment, considering how long I pursued it for. It took me like 2, 3 years to make the team. Yeah, that's definitely a huge accomplishment. Also, graduating college, that was also massive. A lot of people make it, and a lot of people don't, cross the finish line. And I got to witness that firsthand because I was on the lower end of it. And a lot of us, unfortunately, uh, from where I'm from, even if we do make it into college, we're also not prepared for college itself, and as a result, a lot of us either end up leaving for financial reasons or academic reasons, or even mental aspects of it as well. So it's definitely a challenge. So that was huge, making it that far. Right after college, I also was able to play a bit of professional soccer. So that was also massive. But like I said, I tend to overlook my accomplishments, and that's a bad habit because at the end of the day, you do want to celebrate yourself because you don't know how far and you know how long you're going to be in that that bubble that you're in currently. So definitely think those are some of my biggest accomplishments for sure. And besides that, just just being alive and being able to share my story, that's definitely a blessing, and I think an accomplishment on its own. So yeah, hope that answers your question.
Nah, yeah, it really does. And I hope everybody out there listening can kind of listen to your story and your journey and kind of resonate with that and to not lose hope in the things that they want to do. So really appreciate you for sharing that. And since you kind of touched upon your journey as playing soccer, do you have any person like you looked up to in your journey that kind of gave you that motivation? Like who was your like favorite sports hero that gave you that motivation?
Yeah, that's tough, man, because I don't like, for me personally, I don't have any like celebrities, any big role models. I don't have any like athlete that I could pinpoint and be like, hey, this guy, made me want to play soccer so much. This guy made me, want to just be like him. There's not one person, even the greatest in the world. Um, I don't really necessarily look up to them
Yeah.
personally. I think more of my inspiration came from my two brothers, particularly my oldest brother, who also played soccer at the same high school that I went to. So I kind of went on his path a bit, and fortunately was able to draw inspiration from him and exceed some of those accomplishments. But yeah, man, even in funny story, even in high school, like I wasn't pursuing soccer, I was pursuing basketball. So as a freshman in high school, my
Yeah, I can see why, because you're a really good hooper too.
nah, man, I'm all right. I'm all right. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But yeah, like my two older brothers playing in high school, the schools that they went to were actually they were rivals, so they got to play against each other, and I was in middle school at the time, so I got to witness that, and that was super exciting. When high school came, for whatever reason, I had just drawn closer to basketball over the years, and that's what I wanted to do. So I went to try out for the basketball team. I mind you, this is the JV basketball team, and I literally show up in some Vans. And at the time, I had no idea, any whatever. I just need I play basketball. There's tryouts coming up this day, so let me show up. I showed up in some Vans, man. I already know that coach cut me on site. I already know that
Your
coach
feet must
literally
have been
cut me.
sore after that.
Yeah, I literally know the coach literally cut me on site. And it's funny now looking at it because if I could go back, I'm not, obviously we wouldn't have done that. But
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean everything happens for a reason. So eventually, after the 1 week trial was over, I received first cuts, and I was out. And soccer was starting up like a week later or so. My brother was like, "If you play soccer, I'll get you some soccer cleats." And I was like, "Okay, bet. I might as well go out." And I went out for the soccer team. Somehow made the JV team. Didn't even have a position that I played or whatever. Like I was just like, yeah, let me just try this out. And eventually, I was apparently good at it, and so I stuck with that. And over the summer, I kind of worked really hard with my older brothers, both of them playing soccer like twice a day in the Berkeley area where my brother was schooling at the time at UC Berkeley. So I was able to, play with some older people, similar to how I did at Davis with the
Hmm.
like local playing, except I was in high school at the time. So that was a huge, experience and exposure, and very vital in my growth at the time. So yeah, man, it's just crazy how it all works. But I ended up, after that after that summer of commitment, I ended up making a varsity team in the next year, and the rest is history from there.
Wow, that's amazing, bro. From a basketball wannabe basketball player to actually professional soccer player, man. That's amazing, bro. Showing up with some Vans and you now have cleats. That's dope.
Yeah, man.
Um, what's in terms of your journey in sports? What's the best parts that you said your brothers were motivating you to kind of play soccer, but what for you specifically? What is the best part about competing?
Yeah. The best part about competing for me, um, let me see. I think that in my journey, when I eventually got out of college and into the professional scene, I was exposed to some younger people, and I didn't realize how much of an impact our our lives as athletes is to these kids. Like, we are a huge motivation factor in a lot of their
Mm-hmm.
decisions, and man, I just loved everything about working with the younger kids, and just being around them, inspiring them, just letting them know that, hey, like, you can move forward. Like, hey, you got this. Like, if this is what you want to do, like, you can do it. And even if it's not, you can still find and draw motivation from it to be successful in whatever avenue life ends up taking you. So I think that was just amazing. Signing autographs, and just all of that stuff that involved motivating the next generation. I think for me that is just an untradeable experience.
Yeah, it's really good to hear that there's people out there who are more involved off the field also. Like that seems like your biggest motivator is to the impact that you have off the field. So that's amazing. And I'm really glad that you're on the City podcast today. You know, it's a podcast to speak about yourself and how you impact your community. So I can see that you are really a big impact in your community. And personally, you've also been an impact to me. So I appreciate that too. Um, so the next question, I guess, is in terms of yourself, why do you feel you are different from anyone else?
Oh man, that's that's not a tough question, but it's just I don't really know where to start. I think that I am different. That
What is that thing though? What's that it
Yeah,
factor for you?
I
What's
think
that
I think my
thing?
mindset, honestly, I think the
Uh
way I
huh.
think um, is completely different from most people. There's been a select few people that I have been around that kind of have the same mindset as me. Maybe two to three of them, to be honest. A lot of other people, just kind of think like the world, and I like to do everything completely opposite of the world. Um, Like, if there's a group of people making a decision, I'm most likely to make the opposite decision that they're all making, uh, or
Yeah.
else that decision that they're making makes sense to me. Then I'm like, okay, this does make sense to be a part of this group decision. But off the bat, I feel like a lot of people are more likely to just go with the flow, or go with what everybody else is thinking and saying, and not think for themselves. Versus myself, I will make sure that I break down and analyze that situation or item or whatever the case may be, or event or whatever it is, to the core, to make sure that I am making an individual decision for Onah Power, not just for what everybody else is thinking
Mm-hmm.
should be the decision made. I think that's very unique, because
Yeah.
age where not a lot of people like to think for themselves. A lot of people just rock with the boat. So yeah, I think that's definitely probably one of my most unique um, features, I guess, if I should.
Okay. Well, that's actually really good because that makes me made me think about to want to know like when was that moment when you realized like this is how I work, this is how I think. Was there a moment that you had that you're like, wow, this is who I am and this is what I do? When was that
Yeah,
moment?
I would say like in college, maybe my
Mm,
sophomore slash junior year, probably my junior year. I started to understand, who I am and who I was. I started to, learn more about myself and understand that, that I wasn't a follower. I was a trendsetter. I wasn't one to be like everybody else, but instead I was the one who was kind of leading the pack. And I hate being a leader. Like I hate being on the forefront of stuff. Um, but at the same time, I also don't like following. So I was able to navigate that and realize that, I can still be a leader without the label. I can still, inspire people without directly being um, said to be the case. Um, but yeah, I think junior, sophomore year, college for sure. That's when I start understanding, like I guess, who Onah Power really was, and um, yeah, from there I just ran with the mindset, of being a individual, and it's been very beneficial for me over time.
okay. And during that time, did you have like a daily mantra that you followed yourself or something that you just stuck to and kept you grounded?
Um, No, not necessarily. No, I didn't. There wasn't particularly anything that I followed. If anything, I'm actually more of a like free type of guy. Like I don't really have like set routines. I don't have set um
Hmm.
like responsibilities or stuff like that. Like I don't like feeling constrained to a list or constrained to a set of ideas or um, a way of living or a way of anything really. I'm very open. The only thing that stays constant with me is that I always want to go against the trend. I always want to kind of think for
Yep.
myself. I think honestly that is the only thing that really sticks out. Like the rest is kind of just like free roam for me. I like to live life, second to second, hour to hour, minute to minute, day after day. Um, and obviously,
Hmm.
I'm still human, so I do still worry about the future. um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I like to make decisions in the moment, and I'm comfortable in being uncomfortable with the future sometimes. But yeah,
Okay. So you sounds like you're like a free flow type of person, very
yeah,
liquid with everything that you
absolutely,
do.
man.
That's awesome. We need more Ona powers in this world. Because a lot of people out there are like clout chasers, and being a clout chaser sometimes gets you
Absolutely,
nowhere.
man.
So that's really good,
I
man.
will say though, if you're a clout chaser and you really really know how to chase clout, man, you can still be
Go
successful.
ahead.
That's what the industry wants these days, man. That's what's selling. That's what's making money on Instagram. The clout chasers, the people who will do anything to be in the spotlight. So if you're good at that, man, ain't all power to you. Um, if you know how to do that and do that properly, and you
Yeah.
understand that you are making a show and acting, and you don't actually let that become who you are. Hey man, that's as smart as you could be, bro. Because there's definitely some money to be made in being a cloud lord.
Yeah, that's true. And I hope for everybody out there that's listening, um, you guys can kind of take into consideration what Mr. Power just said. It's important to look at yourself first and figure out what is the one thing that sets you apart from everybody else. And you said for yourself, it's your mindset. So that's really important. Which follows up or leads me to the next question for you is, do you have an understanding of your own existence, like your purpose to be
Yeah,
here?
man. I think that our purpose on Earth, we don't really. Not a lot of people actually like think on that. A lot of people just kind of chase after the money and leave it at that. Um, I
Mm.
think that I understand that I have a purpose on earth. I think that I have a responsibility on earth in terms of figuring out what that is. I think that's a journey that it's like a consistent journey that is ever changing. I think there is a big umbrella that it fits under um, for each individual. I think like some people are like called to to maybe create stuff for the world, and some people are called to
Yeah.
spread love. Some people are called to spread there's just I don't know, there's just different big umbrellas that I think each thing fits under. Like you can spread love through music, you can spread love through speech, you can spread love through actions. So I think certain people are called to accomplish certain umbrellas, and they have different avenues that is and gifts that they have been given to accomplish that. So in regards to me, I think that I'm still in the process of figuring out exactly what that is, but I think I'm definitely called to inspire and to spread love in some way or another. But that's still a work in progress, figuring out how to consistently pull that, because not everybody is a soccer player, not everybody is a musician, so finding out that avenue, and not everybody is a soccer player forever, not everybody can make music forever, so finding those constant avenues to accomplish your purpose on earth is absolutely important, but difficult. And that's why
Yeah,
it's
that's
so
very
rewarding,
true.
because it's not just point blank, written on the paper, and you could just go see it and be like, okay, this is what I got to do. But so yeah, and I think doing that gets you happiness, right? So um, gets you happiness, whether
Yeah.
that comes in the form of money or in other ways. Everybody has their own definition of happiness. So, but I think finding that purpose will get you that and get you everything that you want in life, and that's why it's so difficult to find out what that purpose is.
Hmm. It's funny that you touched upon two things there that I think we should kind of expand on, money and happiness. So, quick question first: do you think that money does buy
I
happiness?
think that's a great question, man. I think money cannot buy happiness. However,
Hmm.
however, being being broke can buy you sadness. So,
Can you?
so,
What
so
do
in
you
other
mean by that?
words, like there's billionaires who are still very unhappy every day, right? Um, and there are
Yeah.
some poor people who are also unhappy and happy. But I know that having problems every day, not being able to pay your bills, not being able to, drive a car in general, not being able to clothe yourself, pay your kids' school fees, all these things that come up, those cause stress, and those cause, sadness as a result, right? So
Yeah.
absolutely,
Hmm.
having money does help alleviate those stress, but having money on its own doesn't make you happy. However, being poor could easily make you sad, if you get what I'm saying. Because people define richness, people define,
Yeah.
when you say money, if I have a dollar, I have money, right? So when we say money, usually we're
Correct.
referring to being rich, right? Usually we're referring to having wealth, right?
Hmm.
And that's also, defined differently for everybody. Some people say, I want $1 million, and that is richness to me. And some people are like, no, I just want to be able to pay for all my fees and whatever, and that's rich to me. And some people are like, I want to be able to swipe my card whenever I want without thinking about it. That's richness to me. And for me personally, that is richness. Being able to literally get anything you want without having to think about it, especially the like being able to swipe your card for 50,000 and below, and never having to look at your bank account like, oh, how much is left in there. That's richness for me personally. That I think something like
Yeah.
that is richness. I actually just figured out that definition for myself this week while having a conversation. But yeah, I do think money does not buy happiness, but being broke is will buy you sadness, in other words. So yeah, it's
No, yeah, that's true. I also think that that money can, it doesn't really buy you happiness, but it does give you the
hmm
flexibility and the opportunity to do things. Because you can find some really broke people and they're the
right,
happiest person in the world, and you can be the richest person and you have all these problems
exactly,
just causing you a bunch of stress just because you have a bunch of money. So it is very true that you just gotta find the balance
yeah,
that's for yourself and kind of see where is it that what makes you happy and what makes you content, and
right.
at the same time you're uplifting the people around you. So now that's a key point right there. Just to kind of understand what you mean by like you finding your own essence, your existence. Was there like a big failure that you had, or what is that one thing that you learned from that kind of propelled you to that avenue of yourself?
Um, so for me, in terms of failures, I think that like growing up, there's been different avenues of failure that I um didn't think deep on, and it kind of it did
Mm-hmm.
shape me, but I never like focused on you know what it was. And I think when you're younger, it's easier for you to let go of your failures because your bank account isn't really being affected. Like your where you're gonna live, what you're gonna eat, uh, where you're gonna sleep. Like all of that is not necessarily contingent on your decisions when you're a child because you're usually under some type of guardian or parent, right? So
Yeah,
exactly,
so
some
supervision.
sort of supervision. So we tend to, just like look down on our failures as whatever. Like, oh, I got a 3.0 instead of a 3.5. Like you're it's like whatever. As you get older, though, some of your failures and some of your decisions start to shape you in a bit. I think, for example, like I said, like me not making the basketball team in high school, that actually was a blessing. And And at the time, I
Mm-hmm.
probably couldn't have seen that, but that actually was a blessing because all of a sudden, instead of playing basketball, if I would have made that JV team, I probably would have played basketball. And knowing myself, I would have worked very hard to be a good basketball player. And I would have ended up playing varsity the next year. Now, if I would have made it any past that, only God knows. But I know I don't have the height. So I would have definitely been, what I'm saying? I would
Yeah.
have definitely been doing myself a disservice off the rip. Um, so that failure set me on the path to success. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
me finding soccer and coming this far. And then the failure of
Yeah.
not making the varsity team as a freshman in college and as a sophomore in college, that set me up with the mindset that, that I can, and then eventually being able to make that failure set me up with the mindset, of that underdog mentality that I live daily by now. I always feel like I'm an underdog, and that is very unique because it always puts you in a state of competition. It always puts you ready to to fight for whatever. So no matter what it is I do, man, like I'm always thinking about it in a competitive mindset. And sometimes I hate that because I could just be simply, let me say, like even like I don't even know, like it like something so small as like watching TV, for example. Like say I'm watching a show and somebody else I know is watching that show. All of a sudden, I feel the need to you know watch more episodes than them or something. And that's not really a realistic example for myself personally because I don't really like watching TV. Um, but everything
Yeah.
is just so competitive in my mind, and sometimes that's actually very terrible because I can't just sit there and enjoy it for what it is. But at the same time, it does set me on a path
Yeah.
to always bring the best version of myself in everything I do. But going back to the failure piece, that gave me that mindset to know that no matter how hard something is, you can accomplish that. You can succeed. You can get there. No matter how long it takes, you can push and persevere past all the adversities. And so that failure helped me so much, man, because I know what I went through in those 2 years, 3 years, 2.5 years of not being on that team, how much trauma, how much depression, and just how much I actually had to, persevere through in order to eventually uh, get that thing I wanted. I remember my freshman year, literally, I'd go to class, then I'd go watch the soccer team practice. Like, so I lived in the dorms,
Mm-hmm.
so the soccer field was actually close to my dorm. So I would literally leave class and go sit in the stand and watch the soccer team practice. And I did that so frequently. And I know the coach was getting tired of seeing me. Shout out to Dwayne. But I know they would always see me up there, and I know I was becoming annoying, but it kept me, it kept my eyes on the prize, and I knew what I wanted, and I just seeing that and sitting in the stands every day and knowing that this is what I want, and I was sizing myself up with everybody. I was like, I definitely can be here in replacement for this guy. I know for sure I should be here for this guy. This guy does never belong here. You know what I mean? Like just like, motivating myself,
Mm-hmm.
um to get where I needed to be, and I just love that. Yeah,
And you saw
exactly.
that
I
for yourself
visualized
too.
that, and I just kind of every time I got out there, I was like so sad and like so infuriated that it like drove me, and it created this persona that I still have today, where I know that if there's something that I really want to do, I know that I'm going to do my best to get there. And at some point, I feel like I will get there. I believe I will get there. Even if it's not true, even if I would never get there, I still believe that I will because of that experience, And so, yeah, that failure specifically literally shaped my future, man. It shaped me and helped me even academically when I was struggling in school. I knew somehow I was going to end up passing the class, and it, it
Yeah,
happened so many
that's the
times,
mindset
man.
right there.
I couldn't tell you how many times I basically should have failed a class but didn't. And that's not for me to take glory, because that's all glory to God. But him putting me through that experience created the mindset that I needed to overcome and persevere and get where I needed to get. Um, so yeah, that
Okay.
failure for sure of not getting on the team, I think that shaped a huge portion of who I am today.
Okay. Well, I hope that your story can be an inspiration to a lot of people out there. It seems like you have that competitive spirit to always, just want to do better and be better all times, on the field and off the field. So now, if I could just get a little glimpse of how you channel that competitive spirit in something else. I know you play league, so is that competitive spirit
Man,
same
that's what
thing
I'm
when you're playing
saying,
League
bro.
of
Like
Legends?
literally anything I do right now in my life, and it kind of sucks to a certain extent. It honestly sucks to a certain extent because it's like no matter what it is, like we could just be sitting around at the lake together, and we're just just throwing rocks, and the next thing it's like, oh, I threw my rock further than you, and all of a sudden we're competing for who can throw the furthest rock, and it's just like there isn't like a um what do you call it? It's at this point it's like ingrained, so there isn't like a specific like action or way or anything around that. It just kind of is just who I am now at this point. You know what I mean?
Ingrained.
So at this point actually kind of I'm working on like settling down that spirit a little bit. I'm working on being okay with not being average, because I never settle for being average. But I'm working on being okay with not being the best. Because my mindset before is
Mm-hmm.
I
Wow,
literally
that's
had to be the best. Um, but I think,
yeah. I feel really inspired, honestly, by you telling me that because this lets me know that the competitive spirit should never die. It
Yeah,
should always be
absolutely. No,
there. Stay
I
consistent.
think so for sure. I think it should
So
always be in your life, but at the same time, you have to control it so it doesn't control you. And throughout my like athletic career, it
yes.
has controlled me, but it has been a positive thing, right? But as you grow older and you
Mm-hmm.
start interacting outside of just your athletic spirit, you start mean human beings who just want to just relax and chill because you realize that not everybody is thinking like you. And I started to realize that like not everybody wanted to, play in the Champions League. Not everybody wanted to play in the World Cup. Not everybody thinks that drinking coffee is something that should be competitive, like not everybody saw life as a constant game. So I had to, start toning down some of that competitive spirit, and I still channel it inside of me, like it's still there, but I had to, in the last like 4 years, I had to be okay with the outcome of something not being the best.
Mm-hmm. And how's that affected you in terms of like when you have to settle for something? Is there a way you react
Yeah,
to it? Like what
it
emotions go into
it
that when you
lets me
have to like do that?
exactly, and that's what I'm saying. It lets me still strive to be the best, but in the event I am not the best, I am okay. I'm okay. In the event, if I was
Yeah.
last place, that's different because that would never happen.
Okay.
There's not one thing you could tell me on this planet that I would be last place in. It's just no way. In my mind, personally. You get what I'm saying? That's the
I
mindset. Like I don't have to be first place.
yeah. Uh-huh. But
Exactly.
you
I
want to
don't have
be
to be
up there
first
with the
place. That's
best.
cool. That's fine with me. But I know damn sure I'm not going to be the last. I know that much. I know I won't be in the end of the pack. I know that much. Like I will not be less than average. Even
That's
average
fair.
itself is already, pushing it. So yeah, and channeling
Mm-hmm.
that in everything you do, I think that can definitely push you towards your goals and your dreams. So yeah.
Okay. Uh, so in terms of yourself, now let's go back to being introspective. If you were to describe yourself in 3 words, what would those words be? I know maybe one of them might be competitive, but what are some other
Okay, let
things
me
you can
see.
describe
So
yourself
we said
as?
competitive was one. I would say
Mm-hmm.
caring is two. I do care about a lot of people. Not just a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people, also care about a lot of like things, and not in terms of material items, but I care about, the fact that, some people don't get to eat the same way that I do. I care about some
Yeah.
people not having clothing the same way I do. I want to be able to change some of those things. I care about the inequalities that exist in this country. I care about being able to motivate the youth through their struggles. I care about them caring about themselves. I care about
Mm-hmm.
so much in that avenue. It just the list just goes on. So Karen would be my second one, and then I think let me see. So I said competitive, Karen. Um,
You got two C's
get a
going,
third
so
C in
you
there.
know.
Let's see. I am curious, but I don't think that's necessarily my third personality. So let's see. Um,
Mm-hmm.
ooh, yeah, I don't know. I would say, I'd say hopeful.
Hopeful. Okay, so competitive,
Yes.
caring,
So I'd
and
say
hopeful.
competitive,
Wow.
obviously, because
Uh.
of my spirit and how I'm always striving to be one of the best. And then caring because I care about a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things and how I want the world to be better. And then I'd say hopeful because I see that future of things eventually being better. And I don't think there is a set. I don't think we're ever going to get to a place where we're going to be like, wow, everything is so much better now. Absolutely not. I think things are always going to be horrible. But I do think that in terms of what I'm being hopeful for. I think that as time goes and as the generations change, I think more and more of us are being aware of some of the injustices and some of the, the craziness that's happening around us, and we are being okay with fighting for what we want. So hopeful in that sense for sure.
Okay. Um, wow, man, that's very inspiring and influences me to just aspire to think more introspect about myself and kind of see the kind of different journeys people take in life. And which something that I can really say that you to emphasize on something that you really said is the notion of understanding yourself. So kind of something I kind of understand about you is, as a professional soccer player, you might have some bad games, some good games here, you go in there. So what is that one thing like you always do either after a good performance or after a bad performance? With the competitive nature you
Yeah.
have and the caring abilities you
Yeah,
have,
for
is there like
me
something
in
you usually
my
do?
experience in soccer in general, I like I always prepared myself and I was always prepared. So once the whistle blew, like I wasn't nervous anymore. Like before the whistle maybe, but once everything got going, I was always prepared and I never shied away. In fact, I think that, in some of the harder games is where you see the best of me. And just because I always rise to the challenge. Um, so I think with that being said, when games are and the thing about soccer that actually made me start realizing that I needed to tone down my competitive spirit is because there's not just one player that's playing. In basketball, you can be a freaking exactly. You can
The
be
LeBron of the team,
you could be a Steph Curry and score 51 points and you win. You most likely win. Like the chances of
Yeah.
you winning after one player scores 51 points is very high. So each player has the potential to impact the game that much. On the other hand, as a soccer player, there's 11 players. So one
Mm-hmm.
person's decision could completely ruin everything else for everybody else.
Oh,
Especially playing my position
yep.
where I'm not necessarily close to the goal, so scoring opportunities aren't always there, and goals are how the games are determined, not tackles. Which is more of what I specialize in being a defensive midfielder. So I had to understand that
Mm-hmm.
I could do my best and that was enough. So in a game where
Yeah.
if we were to lose like 4-0, for example, I'd be absolutely battered and I'd be absolutely destroyed by it. But at the same time, I could look back and be like, okay, but if there was an MVP of this game, it probably was you, right? And if it wasn't, then it affected me. But if it was me, then I was okay with that. I was like, well, we lost 4-0, but only you did do
Mm-hmm.
your absolute best, right? And that's all that matters. I think, and so like going back to
Mm-hmm.
your question, I think that finding that okayness in you doing your best, and just leaving rest to the rest because you can't control everything. You can't be in control of it all. You kind of have to make a decision and run with it. So yeah, man, I just try my hardest, do my best, prepare myself, and in the event all goes to all fails, then I'm okay with that as long as I did my absolute best. So I think that's the way to tackle that for sure. It's
Mm-hmm.
just making sure you're doing your best at all times.
Okay. Now, yeah, that's very true. Yeah, for me, I'm very competitive. Also, like in anything I put my mind to, I put my foot into. I'm always trying to be the best, or just trying to outperform myself. Like I set myself high expectations and shoot for the stars. And if I don't land there, I'm at
Exactly.
least landing in the moon and the space,
Exactly.
and I'm close to touching the stars. So that's 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 that competitive spirit nature that I feel like we need to kind of spread around the world, not in a mean way, but in a way to kind of get people to understand, like, life has a lot of barriers you have to jump over. You need that competitive spirit, like, okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna lift my foot up and jump over this hurdle and get over to the next one. So that's really good, man, to to know that there's a lot of ways to kind of overcome some barriers. And one thing you touched upon is reflection. Reflecting on what
Hmm.
you did, how you can be better from it, and how you can also be better at the things that you were good at. How can I be more better at those? So, now that's amazing. Which kind of leads me to the next question. It's perfect. For yourself in your journey, do you believe like there's some things that you've done, projects, accomplishments, some works that you're really proud of, that you kind of, said like, this is what I'm gonna do and I'm gonna set it out to execute.
Um, no, not yet, not yet. I don't think there's any.
But is there something in the factory you see
Um,
working up right now?
I think in the future for sure. I think my story is still
Mm-hmm.
too young, and I know that there is a lot I can talk about already. But I think my story is so young that I'm waiting to see, a little bit more of how the story transpires before I can actually, publish it or put it out there, for people to draw from. So yeah, in other
Mm-hmm.
words,
Okay.
it's in the works, like you
Uh,
said.
it's a work in progress. That's always, it's everything is always in work in progress. So, I want you to keep doing the best you can in that, man. And really, as far as you made it in soccer, you can also do that the same thing that you're doing right now. So keep that competitive spirit going, and I
Yeah,
know
man.
you'll
Thanks a
make it
lot.
far, man. Um, so on the City Podcast here, we usually there's a question we usually ask people to kind of see, what they are, and the question is, do you see yourself more as a developer or a pursuer?
Um, that's interesting. I think I'd be in the middle of it because pursuer to me sounds more like a follower, and
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay.
yeah,
I never heard
pursuer
that.
to
I
me
never heard that
sounds like a
before.
follower, and developer sounds like a leader. Like, and I don't think
Okay.
I have absolutely great leadership qualities, but I don't think I'm necessarily a leader. Like, I feel like, would I want to be the president? Absolutely not. Would I would I want to advise the president, which is just as important as being the president? Absolutely yes. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Mm.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to
Okay.
be the person who is, like I said, I'm not for clout and all of that. Like, I'm completely against it. I rarely even use social media. I'm trying to do better because there is money to be made out there. So,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, I do not. So I'm definitely not a pursuer because that sounds like a follower. Um, but I'm also not necessarily a developer. That was the second one, right? Yeah. So no,
Yeah.
I'm
Developer or
definitely
pursuer.
like I can create, but I think I'm more okay with um doing a bit of both. So kind of being in the middle and a little bit in, so on the scale, I guess, like more developer than pursuer, but not necessarily a
Mm-hmm.
developer, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that you kind of
Exactly.
best of both worlds. You can pursue something, but at the same time, you can develop and make it into
Exactly.
your own thing to where you actually
Exactly.
feel confident about it. Wow. I've, that's amazing because I feel like there's a lot of, especially since you say you like working with the youth. In my experience, working with youth, that's something that I feel like we should kind of emphasize upon them is kind of figuring out which side of the spectrum they lay on to figure out are they somebody who wants to see something and pursue it, or at the same time pursue something but use that to kind of develop something they
Mhm.
actually believe in and understand. So I'm really happy that you shared that. It also kind of lets me understand myself too, because I've always tried to figure this out. That's why I always ask people this is, are you a developer or a pursuer? And for myself, I would say kind of the same. For some things not. So it's it's kind of finding that right balance and then reflecting from it, and then using that competitive spirit to kind of push, persevere through it and kind of get
Right.
to that next step. Um, yeah. So another question I have for you is on a scale of 1 to 10, right? So we're on a city podcast, which stands for staying true to yourself. How committed would you be to staying true to yourself on a scale of
I
one to
think I'm a
ten?
10 for sure. Like I said, I'm all about, being my own individual. So in terms of staying in true to myself, that's always going to be the case. That's always going to be my priority is, keeping my core identity and my core values. And obviously growing with that and, and being open to receive what else is out there, but as long as it doesn't change or taint um, the person that I see myself being forever and ever. So yeah,
Okay, that's wow. 10 out of 10. Yeah, I would hope for people out there that are listening can kind of see the value of valuing yourself, and then how you can implement that to the people around you, because people don't want to be, people don't want to be helped by somebody
yeah,
who doesn't understand themselves. You have to be able to kind of know who you are first and see what am I good at, your strengths and weaknesses, and how can I put those
yeah.
into action. Um, so as an athlete yourself, this is now kind of getting to kind of see, because you say your preparation is very important to you, and then executing is very important to you, like preparation to execution. So in terms of like when you preparing for a game or the week before a game, is there like a specific nutrition diet you follow, or are you just free
I
flow
just
from it?
try not to eat. I try to eat some carbs because you definitely need your glycogen. Um, but I try to just not eat some McDonald's. You get what I'm saying? Like
You ever ate it?
no,
Have you ever
man,
ate
I could
McDonald's before a
not.
game?
I ate a tuna sandwich before a game and I felt like so heavy. So, I think it was,
Oh,
I don't know what it was, but more stories, I don't like feeling that little like stomach burn or, yeah, or feeling sluggish.
sluggish.
Exactly. So I would eat and I actually like playing games without eating. But I had to learn
Mm,
to just eat a little bit. So I still had my body had something to work with. But in terms of actual food and
yeah.
diet and stuff, I'm not necessarily the best at all of that. So yeah.
You usually have like a after
After
like
a
a
game,
game or
just
something, or like a big event.
yeah.
What's your what's
After
your
a game,
what's your
just
go-to meal?
everything is for grabs. So after a game, I feel like personally you can eat whatever because usually the next day and the day after that is recovery. So like you're chilling, but prior to that, you have to be very cautious of what you put in your body because you need to, you know what I'm saying, be ready to perform at your best.
Hmm. Okay. Well, yeah, I feel like it's very important. Nutrition is a big part of being an athlete, and just in general being a human being. So in terms of for the young people out there who are listening and everything, what advice would you give someone who's wanting to potentially maybe pursue something similar that you did, or just anything in general? What's
Could
that
you
piece of
repeat that?
advice you would give them? For the people out there listening, what is that one piece of advice you give them? Somebody maybe who might be potentially
Hmm.
pursuing something that you did, as in playing soccer
Yeah,
and then making it to professional, or just
like
in
what?
general, just a piece of advice
Yeah,
they can use to
I
just
think
get through every day.
believe in yourself, but don't be cocky. Believe in yourself.
Mm,
Exactly.
so confidence.
Be as confident as
Mm-hmm.
possible without crossing the boundary of being cocky. So you can know you're the best. You can
Mm-hmm.
look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself you're the best. But when you're in front of other people, I don't necessarily think there's a reason for you to be overly vocal about that. Because your name and your stuff speaks for itself. You get
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? So um,
Mm-hmm.
be
Yeah.
super confident. Because you can't do your best if you don't believe you can do your best. So you have to believe, that you have to believe. I think, like you said, so believe and confidence. I think those are the two things you need. And with that, you'll be golden, man, because that takes care of the mindset piece. That takes care of how hard you're going to work because you know that you have certain standards for yourself. And that takes care of, like when adversity hits, your mind is strong because you believe that you're going to get there regardless. So, um, yeah, I think believe
Yeah.
and confidence. If you say you want to do it and you think you want to do it and you know that's what you want to do, Just go after it, man, and believe. You have to believe.
And
But with belief, you also have to put in that, that work in all aspects of it to make sure that you're preparing yourself for when that time comes.
wow, that's inspiring. And I hope for people out there who are listening can understand believing in yourself and confidence is very important when it comes to just do anything that you do. So appreciate you, Mr. Power, for saying that. So this is the last question. And this is the question for you to kind of, this is the developer, I guess, kind of trying to tap into developer side. So if you were to be quoted on how to stay true to yourself, and that quote it was gonna be a quote, and it's your name after the quote, what would you want that quote to be?
Set the trend, don't follow it. Only power.
Wow. Well, I really appreciate you for taking some time to be on the City Podcast. And for everybody out there listening, always remember, as Mr. Power said, be confident, believe in yourself, set the trend, and not be a follower. So, for all you out there, make sure you pursue your dream and seize the day.
Peace out.
Peace out.